Hi everyone, I'm Yildiz from Yildiz Readings 5D. We're going to cover your astro forecast, covering all your romance, your career, you name it, we're covering it. Now, we did have an action-packed October, and we did have the full moon in Taurus on October the 31st. Now, I'll be covering each of these within each of your zodiac signs. Please look at your sun, moon, and rising. And if you do want to book a reading, you can go to the link directly below. We're also going to be doing additional reads during the month, and connected in with this, I'm going to be giving you chakra updates and more. Now, we do have this month Jupiter conjunct Pluto, and it's really amping off moving to December. So what I'm preparing to do for you guys is trying to get everything as organized as possible so you guys know what's coming up in your chakras, what's coming up in your charts, so you're well and truly prepared for each transit. Now, we are having Mercury in Scorpio going direct on the 3rd of November, and I think most of us will be relieved by that factor. We're also having Mars and Aries direct on the 14th of November, and then we're going to be having Neptune in Pisces direct on the 29th. So yet again, we will be glad that those planets are going direct. It's not to say we're out of the woods, but you know, most of what's really coming up is very much connected to our health with the Taurus full moon that we had on the 31st, which again, I'll still be making references to it because it's still through the month will be resonating and connecting with your charts. And then we're going to be having a new moon in Scorpio at 23 degrees, which is the critical degrees, and it's on the 15th. But yet again, I will connect them with that. And then last but least, before we get into your actual chart, zodiac by zodiac, we have the full moon in Gemini at 9 degrees on the 30th of November, which is a lunar eclipse. And it is connected to the nodes. So we do currently have the North node in Gemini and the South node in Sagittarius. Now, for each of you, that nodal effect will take on a very different vibration. We're moving towards the energy of Gemini, which is a transformative period, which is connected to 2.5 years. So there are themes that are going to be coming up, and definitely it will be quite pivotal connected to this lunar eclipse in Gemini. Now, it can link back to May when the nodes did shift, where we did have a new moon at 2 degrees on the 22nd of May. So again, we will look at those energies and we'll tap into your charts and tell you how it goes. For those of you that you do want a reading, you can go, as I mentioned, to the link below. Now, let's get into your messages. Virgo, okay, let's get into your astrology. Now, your charts are looking really interesting. We're having the full moon in Taurus on October the 31st. It's hitting your 9th house placement. Some of the subjects that I'm really seeing playing out with the houses in your chart, I was drawn to look at the nodes because I was looking and I felt contention energy. Now, you've got with the nodes, they're going to be there for 2.5 years. We did have Cancer Capricorn. To a degree, there's the tying up of those loose ends. You do have a similar energy coming through, very similar to those previous nodes. I have Cancer in my chart, and really the 4th house placement and the 10th house placement is what's coming up with the nodes for 2.5 years for you. So with Sagittarius being Jupiter energy, it can relate to siblings, it can be also connections, but with the 4th house placement in this domain, you could be potentially outgrowing your house. You also could be getting to a point that there could be situations to do with your routine, to do with your psychology inside of homes. And with the nodes being in Gemini, it does link to your 10th house placement. So this year and next year, much of what is highlighted for you is really to move towards the North node. So when it does come to your routine, which Gemini is about that as well, it's also about communication. You have a lot of communication houses activated in this chart. So with the points that's really coming through prior to us really getting into the moon energy, which I will discuss further, just food for thought. Really pay attention to that of what is going on at home, because next month it can be coming up again. We're going to have an eclipse in Sagittarius. It does hit your 4th house placement. What you tend to find is we're supposed to move away from the South node, Sagittarius, home. And it's not, hey, you're leaving home. It's somehow it's where we became comfortable. and you know, it's somewhere that is going to transform through the lessons and moving towards the energy of Gemini. So North Node Gemini, what's your new thinking, your future karma linking to these areas? You know, it's communication, it's your daily routine. Gemini is very social activities, playfulness, children, education. It can be upskilling because it is connected to your career house, but Gemini very separately at a collective level in general is local area. It can be local industry. Being employment, it's the things you need to do to move in that direction. It's also using IT because Gemini links to the internet, technology, and again, upskilling, looking at things. But where you were before, you can utilize it, but it's going to transform both houses. Pardon me, there's going to be a lot of karma connected to the 4th house of home. And it can be because we have become comfortable. Universe is saying that we're having an upgrade. We're transferring and transforming that area. So also what you'll find is however your living arrangements are, they can be transformed. You can find that during that transit, which I found in my transit when I had that. It was much to do with the psychology, with routines. It's like, you know, suddenly something going pear-shaped, really having to re-navigate it, and having those quality systems at home to keep the balance so that you can focus on the section of, you know, career, moving towards those energies, career, reputation. Sometimes it can link to other parent in this house position of the 10th house, but you know, the give and take in situations and trying to be everything. Sometimes we do take on that role and there can be things sort of coming at us from left field. That real creativity when it does come to balance things out. So there might have been some contention in that area. Now the full moon in Taurus does link to the 9th house for you on this occasion, and that's occurring on the 31st. There's also the conjunction occurring from Uranus and Taurus, which is currently retrograde. It did go retrograde on the 15th of August. So if you can think back to what was going on around then, it may give you some example as to what can be playing out on that day and very much moving forward. And it's something that's going to be really, really unexpected, and it will be very sudden. Initially, our ego can say, gee, you know, I wasn't really seeing that coming. When it does come to the 9th house, let's discuss that. The 9th house can be to do with your spiritual beliefs, and it also can be Sagittarius energy, you know, traditional ways of doing things, traditional ways of seeing things. It can be religion, it can be education, it can be something to do with schooling, yours or others. It's also to do with foreign countries and long distance. So linking in with Taurus, it can be looking at your finances, again, looking at diet, which I do actually discuss in this transit. And the reason we've mentioned this, and it's in all the zodiac signs, is that the balance of yin and yang is coming up in November. And with Aries and Chiron retrograde, it is linking to health. So I have connected health inside this transit report. I've connected chakras, your romance, your money, your career, where we will get deep into it. So with this 9th house placement, the subjects linking to it can be sudden. There can be something, you could be looking at your connection, okay, are we going to take this to the next level? We did have a lot of masculine planets retrograde. We do have Jupiter direct at the moment, which is linking into masculine energies. It's in the zodiac sign Capricorn, which has been really heavy for a lot of humanity on the planet. It's very responsible. It can be a lot of burdens, a lot of accountability linked to it, a lot of karma connected to it as well. And it also can link to government bodies. In the first week to 2 weeks, it can be quite testing on the nerves. We are having, and I will talk a little in a moment, I will talk about all of these aspects shortly. But the one thing you do need to bear in mind is during this first week, it can be a little bit testing on the nerves. There's difficulties, there's subjects coming up, especially when it does come to Gemini, Mercury related energy, because most of the chart is hitting your 3rd and your 5th house placement. Now let's get into the energy of aspect by aspect very quickly and then get into each house. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to get into the house system, but the one thing I do want to mention is on the 15th, we are having the new moon in Scorpio at 23 degrees, hitting your 3rd house placement. Now, I mentioned Mercury. So by this point, with Mercury going direct, which will occur on the 3rd, you're going to have a lot of the meditation that you were doing during this retrograde. Mercury retrograde in Scorpio is connected to, at times, self-esteem, the way you show up in the world, the way you communicate, and there can be a lot of throat chakra. I will be doing a chakra report inside this. You're going to have an opportunity between the 3rd and the 15th to shift things up. So your findings, so to speak, in a discovery system through the retrograde is going to give you an opportunity to turn over a new leaf. Now, let's look at, as Mars goes direct, which is on the 3rd, we are having in that pocket of 3 days from the 1st through to the 3rd tension. There can be on the 1st, you have the 3rd house and the 9th house. So some of your belief systems can shift. Something can come up in your psyche, or a 3D circumstance can really be shown to you to show you where some, and maybe you needed to communicate, look, you know, I see something this way, I'm seeing it in that way. Really looking at the relativity of home and career inside of this situation. This is also it can be connecting to land, to food, to agriculture, to your finances. May even be with the home domain. This home's not working. We need to repair this. We need to repair that. And that is due to the fact that we do have the Scorpionic energy this month. And at a collective level, it's 8th house placement, which is almost like assessing where we're at in our life like a business. It can be that a washing machine is broken. It can be where, especially with Pluto energy, it can be plumbing and things to that degree. Let me have a look quickly. Yes, around the 6th, something to that degree can happen. And it can be updates of things. Sometimes we can tell ourselves stories that, gee, we have really, you know, a lot of bad luck. And squaring aspects can make us feel that way. It can make us feel as though, are we ever going to get anywhere? But I do feel there's a lot of plans surrounding and a lot of meditation surrounding who you are, what you are inside of these situations. And very much linking to romance, to children and luck, and definitely marriages, contracts, partnerships, because we have the energy of Libra here. Your self-esteem can be taking a hit on the 9th, and all of us collectively will be experiencing some vibration here on the 9th due to the fact that Venus in Libra is making an opposition to Mars in Aries. And again, it's the give and take in connections. Definitely the energy that you put in. You have wounds in the 8th house. That can be to do with you maybe providing for yourself. There could have been separations. It could be to 8th house placement is births, deaths, legacies. It can be your emotions, looking at what's happening in the collective. It could be something very separate, because usually it's linking back to inner child wounds, and it's hitting the 8th house placement to let you look at a subject matter inside of your life that was potentially holding you back. You may have been attracting more like-minded individuals now, but the wound may still resonate to a degree. This can be, again, if you had people that were never sharing with you, people that were never supporting you, maybe you were supporting them, or could have been vice versa. So money, healthy boundaries, healthy codependency, where there's the give and take in connections. So there could be some slight imbalance occurring. For all of us, we're having a double check. It's both with our health, our finances, and the domains that highlighted in each zodiac sign's chart. Major aspects of growth and movement forward can be happening in your romance, children, and luck, as long as we look at, you know, what routines need to go, what maybe in a belief system isn't working for us. Trigger points with the throat chakra with the 3rd house can come up. Even though Mercury will be going direct, we can still have a lot of meditation, frustrations, and integration needed up until the new moon in Scorpio. And it is going to be on the 15th. It's at 23 degrees. Now, in astrology, 23 degrees is the critical point. So it's almost like we've had all the warnings. Goodness me, you know, penny little, the sky's falling down, and then it can come to a head. Now, although it's a new moon, I've found that the moon energy of late has been unique. Now, during full moons, we tend to have more interesting events. We have one flew over the cuckoo nest energy coming through. And that can be just our psychology sometimes, and it can be depending on where a person's at emotionally, spiritually. You tend to have heightened emotions during a full moon. which really doesn't bode well for what is going on in the collective at the moment, but it's there to kind of create that balance. We may utilize things to calm us, especially with Taurus being a Venus energy. Sometimes we can go to something that nurtures us inside of those wounds. It should ease up as Mars goes direct, because although we have the wounded healer in the zodiac sign Aries in retrograde, and it will be till December the 15th, we will have the heavy energy of Mars going direct, which will give us more oomph to get our things done. It will make us less triggered. We can feel less agitated. You can tend to get more hungry during Mars retrograde because you're really trying to get energy from nowhere. So if diet has been imbalanced, this is an opportunity to really pull those reins in and get back into yin-yang energy. So we're going to be having Aries, Mars and Aries on the 14th going direct. Subjects to do with 8th house placement can come up. 8th house is about shared resources. It can be income, especially with the full moon in Taurus, tying up your debts, getting things in order, getting your home in order, beautifying it, getting it comfortable, getting into a routine, looking at your health. As we have the new moon in Scorpio, communication, you may feel a little bit more balanced to be able to communicate effectively and speak about what you're wanting to achieve. You're showing up differently. Now, we're also having, Venus is hitting your second house. So when it does come to marriages, contracts, partnerships, I feel you guys to be deeply meditating. I do have this feeling that second house can also be that of what we consume. And again, it's still in the house of Venus. It's squaring Jupiter. So when it does come to your emotions, because emotions can link to Venus energies, looking at them, looking at the obligations and responsibilities, and you know, you have this desire for this situation to grow, to move forward. This is connected to your marriages, contracts, partnerships. There's this push-pull energy. It's going to be balanced. You will find on the 15th, there's also going to be subjects to do with why it is not moving forward in these direct areas, what you would need to do to hone in on it. So again, you can set your intentions. You could potentially clear crystals, but being Scorpio, it's very dark and shadow energy. So, you know, again, smudge stick them after you've cleared them. Psyche, and you being very psychic, you can have a lot of psychic downloads on this day. Just make sure that, you know, you're in a correct vibration now. Emotions and frustrations with the second house placement, self-esteem can build. You networking can really benefit you. Pay attention to the Gemini nodes because it's asking you to both look at your finances, look at balance, get home in order, and move forward to prepare for 2021. Now, on the 21st, the Sun enters Sagittarius. This hits your 4th house placement. So we're really having this axis of Gemini and Sagittarius. Things to do with children, you having the energy, you willing to move forward. This can be to do with house-related and routine-related dynamics, getting things in order. Maybe something coming to a head, looking at having to rise above a situation. And, you know, again, if you're wanting to move forward, what you need to do to create balance in these areas. But you're going to have the strength to look at the bigger vision. We're also having on the 21st Venus entering Scorpio, which does hit your second house. And with the second house, it is to do with your land, your self-esteem, your self-worth energy, your material value, the skills, how you rise to the occasion and how you feel about yourself. It also can link into diet. So pay attention to emotions, providing you've been in alignment and you're using your throat chakra effectively. And, you know, that's the aspect of communication, definitely getting the home in order or anything that really has been sidetracking you. Mars going direct should give you more energy. Now on the 24th, we're having Mercury in Scorpio trining Neptune in Pisces. Some of your hopes and dreams can come through, but it's really digging through and communicating about how you see things. I obviously would need to look at both you and your love interest chart to be able to look at the cross-reference with the energy, but you will have the tools on this day to assess what those things are. where potentially with Neptune in retrograde, which it is going direct by the 29th, but at this point, really deciphering between what's reality and what's not, what's a dream and what's not. And what you would need to do to make those things happen. That's both inside your career, your interrelationships, your contracts, and your partnerships. Also make sure that although we will have Mercury going direct, still with the Scorpionic energy inside of Mercury, I really highly advise to read fine print in contracts. Scorpio is the element of an investigator, but it's also something that is hidden. So it can be deep in your psyche. It could be other people's energy, shady energy, or it could be you maybe not seeing something, needing to read that fine print, and that's for all of us collectively. Now, on the 29th, we are having Neptune in Pisces going direct, which you will be able to apply your energy into your marriages, contracts, partnerships, your interconnections. It's going to feel more balanced. You'll feel like you've got the energy to tackle these things. And then on the 30th, we have the lunar eclipse, full moon in Gemini, which is hitting your 10th house. So having to get these things in order, looking at the bigger picture, tapping into your hopes and dreams within your career field, balancing things at work as well is going to benefit you. And do bear in mind that this energy can link back to May and even beyond, but pay attention to what was occurring in May. The new moon in Gemini, it was a nodal shift. It was at 2 degrees on the 22nd. And this is the first point of that nodal energy, having the eclipses. Now, eclipse, the energy of the subject matter that we get to, where we're finalizing things, looking back how far we've come. What were those subjects playing out around that time? And really write it down so that, you know, in 6 months' time, because these transits can last 6 to 12 months and the nodes are there for 2.5 years. Really looking at that so that you can move towards that energy. Pay close attention to your goal. Your goal for the next 2.5 years is focusing on career and not second guessing yourself. Initially, you'll find that that push-pull energy also could be launching home-based businesses. Again, I do coaching for that. So if you want me to read your chart and tap into what you feel your niche market would be, how to directly work with the energy, always feel free to touch base with me and we can tee up a reading on the website. Now, with the eclipse, as I mentioned, whatever you decide to do moving forward in this sector, you will be building and moving and growing in that area for 6 months. Then you will double check as we have the next eclipse in Gemini, where you're at in that point, but you will be rebuilding. So it is a fresh energy coming in, a fresh perspective, a fresh viewpoint, and an opportunity to move forward. With the conjunction points this month, it can bring finances, both to ahead and towards you in a very positive way, providing you take the steps to change things up. Now on to your chakra report. Now, as I mentioned, third house placement is Mercury energy. We have the nodes there. Basing it on the energy of your nodal energy. For a whole year to 2 years, you will be needing to balance these areas out. So there's 2 main ones you need to keep in mind. It will be really good if you got some gems linking in with this. So for those areas, it's both Sagittarius, which is sacral chakra, and Gemini, throat chakra. You can end up getting the higher heart chakra as well, linking in with your zodiac sign. You do link to that also. Now, separately, this month, you will have the energy coming up of heart chakra and the energy of solar plexus because of such heavy Scorpio and Aries placements. So with that, you can eat the food groups for the higher heart chakra with the Taurus full moon moving forward to the Scorpio moon. It's going to move both from throat chakra and higher heart chakra. Now, Aries and Chiron is retrograde, as I mentioned, till the 15th of December. And with that, again, to balance out the 8th house of shared resources of Pluto energy, what you need to end having the energy to do that. Let's look. The solar plexus of your oomph, your power, your Fear-based frequency can come into it as well. Balancing the solar plexus can help you to have the courage to do the things you need to do. So with that, it's really healthy if you actually channel that energy. Now, we do have very heavy Capricorn energy still. Next month, we are having Saturn and Jupiter transit into Aquarius, which will be interesting. You also, with the conjunction points this month, going to have really great benefits of, money coming through, things balancing out, shifts being made. Balance your root chakra. Now, Capricorn links to root chakra, you can use obstinate. That was really coming through in my psychic channeled messages last month, and it has been for the last few months. So really, when it does come to us feeling very firm inside our self-esteem, it always starts from the base chakra. So second house placement, really, let's look through your chart. Where was I seeing it? Yeah, linking to Venus and Libra. From the first 1, 2, 3 weeks, moving to the 16th, make sure that you do balance the energy of Libra, which for you guys is heart chakra. So emotions can come up, healing in this area, maybe truces and crosswires with loved ones in your interconnections. Healing it and moving forward is going to give you a new opportunity to communicate effectively. Okay, Virgo, let's get into your health report. Now, this month I'm seeing a lot of heart chakra activation, but throat chakra. Now, emotionally, I am seeing with your health domain, with the second house placement of self-esteem, with the energy coming through of romance, children, and luck, and your daily routine with Mercury, I see you guys to be very busy. I do feel psychology is going to come up very largely, but it's more due to the fourth house placement of trying to get everything sorted, of feeling that you have to be so responsible for everything and everyone. And sometimes it seems that way, but it's not necessarily that is so. Now, some sort of spiritual belief you're having at the beginning of the month can really trigger you, and you're kind of looking at it going, okay. And this can even be self-worth energy, people's differing views. Collectively, everyone's having that due to the fact that we have Sagittarius in the South Node. I do see if you can really shift your energy, you're going to have more energy by the 14th. Caution around the 9th, especially inside of relationships. There can be crosswise aggression and anger. Viewpoints to do with your self-esteem and money. There could be trigger points linking to Aries and Chiron. So you may have a viewpoint and be very firm, but because of wounds, it could be really highlighting where you need to shift that emotion about to not stand in your way any further. And it can be subject matters that is triggering it and circumstances. Now, by the third week, again, I do feel very positive energies, but because you have third house and second house placement, pay attention to your emotions and eating because it can trigger this, especially as we have the sun moving into Sagittarius. If you are home-based, it does link to your fourth house placement. If you're really busy, doing things to actually create balance, doing things to simplify, and it can be simply putting things away. I mean, you guys are the cleanest part of the zodiac I know. I've got many people I know that are Virgo in nature. You're super organized, but sometimes you can actually end up being given so much more than is absolutely necessary. So eating with Sagittarius energy, it's expansion. We can be at home in hermit mode, and looking at diet-related subjects. So just pay attention to that date, especially with the energy of Scorpio coming through, both from the 21st and the 22nd. Again, if you are wanting to actually deal with something to do with growth, this can be really looking at diet-related subjects as well, very separately in the health domain, looking at it, tapping into your emotions, journaling, and seeing, and it doesn't have to be that this is to do with weight, health, pacify energy. What do? Do we go into hermit mode? We don't communicate, or is it emotions and pacifying it with things to the degree that can be to the detriment of our health? This month, as I mentioned, is health orientated. If you do feel you need a checkup, this is the month that would be perfect for it. But again, use your discernment to know what is correct for you. Self-esteem can come up on the 29th, and pivotal points linking to emotions and career, if you have spiritual blockages, will come up on the 30th. Now, you do have a lot of comings and goings, and there is a lot of communication occurring through your chart. There may be some money that you're tying up at the beginning of the month with the full moon in Taurus at the last day of the month moving into November. Also with the energy of Scorpio, communication, looking with Mercury retrograde, making sure you're reading your statements, that you could be missing things. This also, investigate further, look further into your budget, because there can be some things that you need to chop and change. You do have the 8th house placement. So if there were subjects to do with money and shared resources that lagged, as Mars goes direct, this money can be freed back up again, providing you take the direct steps, and you guys are pretty strict with yourselves, doing such, but there can be added expenses linking with romance, children, and home-related vibrations. Now, when it does come to Mercury energy, you can be spending a lot of time either A, on multimedia, or B, using a lot of fuel in the car and coming and going. So, getting grounded, getting anchored in. You can use crystals to balance that area out. Let me have a look. Let me meditate on that one. Yeah, again, it is heart chakra, because when the heart chakra is open and you're not in that fair base frequency of the root chakra, get both the root chakra and the heart chakra balanced. And then you'll find both with high heart chakra meditation, throat chakra, and root chakra, your finances will start flowing. Family and home. Okay, as I mentioned, I knew I had to look at the South and the North Node. Remember, a lot of how you looked at home is going to transform over the next 2.5 years. This doesn't have to mean it's horrible, right? Whoops. This does not mean it has to be horrible, but it is a very interesting house to have. I know that when I went through that vibration of that transit, for me, there was a lot to do with psychology. It's connected to our psychological foundation, which is our belief about home inside ourselves, connected to conditioning as well. Domestic issues, like what are our day-to-day routines? Are they balanced? Are we always running late for work or school or, whatever that be? Is something in the home not functioning correctly? You learn a lot in the 4th house. Endings, it can be parents, home-related dynamics. It could be a lease changing or, however it relates. 4th house and Sagittarius, it could even be getting to a point that we need to understand that change in that transit is inevitable. You, during this time, especially with Sagittarius there, it's going to be moving into Aquarius. You could be moving into a different area, into a different suburb, different country even, because Aquarius will be there, but it will be to do with circling yourself around the people you feel you resonate with. And I really feel this is a strong message coming up this month for a lot of people with the 8th house placement of what do we need to let go, where do we resonate. It's because as we move forward into the following month, we're going to have Jupiter in Aquarius. Jupiter in Aquarius, let me jump into the chart and have a look for that for you, Virgo. It's going to be hitting your 6th house. Now, it's don't stand in your way. That's really what I'm saying. This is the house of being famous. It's the house of pets. Some of you may consider that in the new year. You also may look to be mixing and merging with more like-minded people, and it is tribe orientation. It's almost very similar to the 11th house in energy. It is going to be both in Saturn and Jupiter. So the themes that we'll be taking on will be very different to any vibration we've had so far, but connections can be much better. Providing we're in alignment and we're moving, there can be a lot of luck, and it's really beneficial for career also. Now, I will say, when it does come to home and family, the biggest contention is going to be communication. Crosswise misunderstandings with Mercury retrograde. Although it goes direct on the 3rd, we have Aries and Chiron retrograde till December 15th. So understanding that each person has a perspective, a wound, everyone's really, really tired. As Mars goes direct on the 14th, it shall be better, but definitely be very careful with communication on the 9th. Home-related dynamics, romance, responsibilities are all coming up that are, they're really burdensome, and wounds connecting to money, feeling that maybe you need to get things in order. There's this push-pull energy going on. it will settle. So just, bear in mind there can be tension. Understand that, everyone's really triggered. Have patience with that and persevere through, and you're really going to get the best out of this transit. Now, in the area of love, I do feel many of you are making major moves forward. As we have the frequency of the full moon in Taurus, there can be things linking to maybe how connections were in the past, maybe a previous connection that you had, your belief systems. There can be splits in energy of value systems I'm seeing inside of connections at the moment collectively. And in your chart with the 9th house, what you feel home should be, where you're going, where you want to be vibrationally. Maybe something to do with 9th house can be education and schooling. Things to these situations can be a point of contention. Now, I will talk about singles as well, so I'm not leaving you guys out. Troubles on the 9th due to emotion, self-esteem, and communication. Definitely a lot of responsibilities inside of interconnections at the moment. I'm seeing a lot of paperwork as well. I don't know why I'm saying paperwork. Now, reading through the fine print during Mercury retrograde, I do feel there's a home-related dynamic coming up. I do feel as it balances, you're going to feel more in alignment by the 15th. Now, movement can be happening in the area of romance as you hit the 2nd house placement. Your self-esteem and your charisma is going to be really booming, and you're going to feel more vibrational. Intimate connections can become back to normal, so to speak. Generally, you find during Mars retrograde, it's like, sorry, hun, I've got to wash my hair. You just don't have the energy. And I'm sure some of you are laughing as I'm saying that. And it's not that you may not feel romantically connected, but it's definitely during that Mars retrograde with the 8th house, there can be wounds connecting to who's doing what task. Are you doing the dishes? Are you doing the dinner? Look, I'm home late. Can you pick up some milk? It's just that frustration and assessment of, maybe something that you've been doing for a while, or maybe something that you haven't been doing for a while, and the balance required in this. It's almost like a masculine Venus retrograde, but it's the energy we put into situations. It's the yin yang of marriages, contracts, partnerships. So by the time we have Venus entering Scorpio, and even from the 15th, I do feel there's a lot of balancing out. Now, for those of you that are single, it can be blasts from the past coming back. It can be where there's been points of no communication, misinformation, emotions from the past coming up. Those of you who are on the fence and you've ended a situation, there's healing inside that and a rejigging of your life. But many of you that are single, your self-esteem is really going to kick back. I do feel if you're communicating with this person when they come in, you're being very assertive, but I am doing the channeled messages that are going to be psychic, oracle, tarot, guided channeled messages. So please, if you aren't subscribed and you do want additional content, click the bell and you'll get the notification. I'll put it in the community tab. Now, during the live sessions, I do super chat as well. Generally, it's towards the end of it. I answer questions and interact with you. I'm pretty easygoing. So feel free to jump on and, I'm happy to answer questions. With the love interest, some of you may be thinking about an old way of being and what you spiritually felt love was. Some of you are really quite focused on maybe moving to a bigger home, maybe moving to a long distance location, and this person could be at a distance from you, or they could be a different culture. I also feel that more pastimes are wanting to come up, but there is this oozing romance coming through, especially by the 3rd week of the month. But we'll do the channeled messages. Let's get into the rest of the report. Now, Virgo, when it comes to your dream states, let's have a look at that. With the 8th house placement, I will say at a very psychic level, you will be deeply connected in both with the Neptune energy and the 8th house of the other side, especially with Scorpio. So if you are having situations where you're having dreams, you're really missing a loved one that's passed over, this is a time that you can get that very large Mercury energy, but it is coming in a very different way. This can be coming through in your dream states. It can be where you're emotionally coming to terms with things through your psychology, in your dream states, and through your thought processes. Sometimes your loved ones will directly connect to you in very unique ways. It can be smells. It can be a person looking very similar to them and they're passing, and you were thinking about them 5 seconds before, and then there's a person in front of you. It can also be your memory systems, your dream states. Pay attention to it. They're trying to support you through some blockages that you're currently going through at the moment. A lot of your hopes and dreams are within reach. It doesn't have to turn out the same as the way it was before. Try not to hold on too tight, because I am seeing there could be a little bit of nervous energy there, of fear of change. But after you've achieved it, I remember there was a point in this video I was going to say to you, don't hold on too tight. Too tight can mean not having enough faith in yourself that you have this in the bag, that a lot of where you're going in your life is going to be absolutely magnificent. But this unsure and heavy energy that we're all collectively going through, sometimes we can emotionally get very down on ourselves and feel that we're not going in the right direction. To be perfectly honest, especially from a psychic and an astrological point of view, if something isn't meant to be, what I'm trying to say is sometimes we tend to think we've gone down the wrong road. Did I do something wrong? Is there something I could have shifted? And if you're always destined to achieve something or do something, it's always going to come back around. So really trust in that process. Now, on the 30th, as I mentioned, I'm just going to quickly skimp over this because we already have mentioned this inside your astrology update. We are having the lunar eclipse, full moon in Gemini, 9 degrees on the 30th. It's hitting your 10th house placement. Now, full moons can be endings and tying up things. It's also, if you were waiting to hear back from a job, around this time you can have real movement. Also, with a transition and cleaning up shop in life, there can be a transformation and brand new opportunities are going to come through. So it's just trust in the process. Do be aware that weather patterns can be pretty hectic around that time. So batten the hatches down because it is Mercury. It's air-based frequency, especially with Neptune going direct at the end of the month. The day prior, we have aspects coming with Neptune prior to it direct. So there can be, in the collective, you may hear of earthquakes, especially with the full moon in Taurus, lightning. But you'll find weather patterns 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out can always be pretty hectic. And because next month we're also going to be having an eclipse again, it's pretty much we have about, 2 weeks in, 2 weeks out. We do have about 2 to 3 months worth of that energy coming through. So just batten down the hatches, be aware, plan also with your driving at the moment with Gemini. If you're working, paying attention to your surroundings, because Gemini in astrology can be overload of information. So making sure that you're keeping clear when you're driving. You will notice there will be an increase in traffic accidents with Mars retrograde as well. It's going direct, so caution to do with agitation and things to the degree in the first 2 weeks. With the eclipse, again, caution with driving. Schooling subjects can come up in the news. It can be something quite interesting that comes up on the news, and that can be both good and bad. Again, being a full moon, it's a transformation in certain areas. It can be both connected to internet, communication, socialization, our pastimes, that are fun, like going on a Ferris wheel or going to the movies. Situations inside of those things at a collective level can change also. Beautiful Virgos, thank you for coming. Hope you enjoyed the report. If you want more content like this, week by week, shall be coming up in 2021. At the moment, I'm doing these monthly reports. I also have a live update that I'm going to be doing, which is psychic messages, as I mentioned before. I cover twin flame update, moon energy, anything psychically I see coming up. Now, as I mentioned, 2021, there's going to be a lot more content. It's going to be week by week forecasts, connecting in with your chakras, anything additional I feel you really need to know to guide you through 2021 and beyond to get the very best for you in your zodiac sign and your life moving forward. Thank you for coming. Have an awesome month. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you on the other side.